Hey, my name is Kevin Paige. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer. My wife and I also have a band, and I do a lot of sound-alike tracks because just we've scaled down our performing to pretty much as a duo. So I do a lot of sort of sound-alike records, and I've always done that because it helped me when I was younger to get better at my production chops and arranging chops, trying to recreate and get as close as to records. Because when you do that, you inadvertently figure out what makes things work and what makes records great and all that. So anyway, this is a group I'd always loved. Duran Duran was way more talented than a lot of people gave them credit for, just, since they were nice-looking dudes. It tended to undermine how much creativity was really going on there, and it wasn't all just musical chops. It was just their minds were so open to hearing things that other people didn't hear, basically just because how into fashion and art and imagery and the lyrics of Simon Le Bon were just so out there, which makes them so great. So anyway, we're going to look at Save a Prayer here. Now everybody's doing their tutorial videos now, and this is, to be honest, the first one I've done, but I don't really consider them a tutorial video because I'm not trying to teach you nothing. I'm just trying to share some cool stuff. So if you happen to learn something through it, great. But otherwise, we're just going to have fun and listen to this cool record. So here's my and when I do these things, I always try to keep the record close by, almost synced up. Sometimes I can't sync it up, but so here's the real record. Back to mine. So obviously the first thing you hear is theirs just sounds more analog and just of its era in the 81 or whenever they made this. Yeah, I don't want to use too much of his stuff. I might get flagged. So anyway, so first things first, when we were kids and loved Duran Duran, it was always those sequences that just made their stuff so magical, and two, made it where you couldn't play it because you all didn't have that equipment. So you would always try to figure out, how are they doing that? Well, it turns out it's with all kinds of delays and sequencers and things. So here's the first coveted sound that I would have killed to have had back in that day. And little did I know that's all it was doing. Of course, you add eighth note delays to it. And you turn the delays down enough to where it has this sort of, it really has a nice swing about it, even though I know it's not swung technically, but I mean, put a little reverb on it. So the great thing that makes this so awesome was that Nick Rhodes doesn't get hailed as being a great keyboard player, but dadgummit, his ideas were awesome. And the fact that this went up that D minor scale over every one of the chord changes, it constantly made this sort of lush where all the tones in the scale were going at the same time, no matter what the chord change was. So it's brilliant. And it's funkier than heck when the drums come in. And you say funky. How could that be funky? Because it is. Shoot, what you talking about? All right, so. All right, first thing, Nick Rhodes. Oh my gosh, coming up with a line that would just go like this. No big deal, pretty goes with the chords, but when you add that stinking wee blow. You say, why do I call it a wee blow? Remember when kids used to put their hands together and they blow into them and they go, it sounded like an owl or something? I could never do it. But I don't know why I called that a wee blow. I don't even think anybody else called it. So that, I mean, you put that sound at the beginning of a record and you know it's that record as soon as it comes on. And it's just an idea we're going, it's so simple but so obvious, hitting that pitch thing. He's just hitting a pitch wheel and making it do that. You say, well, that's no big deal. No, it's a big deal because you didn't think of it. I didn't think of it. Nick Rhodes thought of it. Here's the bass sound I got going for this. And here's another thing. Sometimes lack of musical skills or just musical knowledge of theory, let them play notes and hear things that weren't necessarily correct, but they were crazy. All those walking notes. All right, and this part right here, listen to the bass line. And you go, what the heck is he playing? That note don't even go with the chord. It's an F sharp when the song's playing F naturals, but that's what makes it so magical. You're going, I wouldn't have thought of that. You didn't think of it. John Taylor thought of it. And you probably heard it on some James Brown record and just said, hey, I know this little movement works, not even considering what the chord was probably, which makes it so awesome because it's like there's no limitations on how they're hearing or singing music. All right, so let's look at the acoustic guitar, which I never really knew was in there till my grown-up ears, but it's really thinned out and going through one of these. I put it through a chorus D, dimension D. And what's really cool is I put some, in the record it sounds like there's finger cymbals going with, and I couldn't figure out the exact pattern, but it added to, it almost seamlessly goes with the acoustic guitar to make this. So it makes like these transients stick out over there, and you can't really tell what it is. But when the track's playing, those cymbals cut through pretty good. Excuse me. Like listen to the real record. See, the first you could hear right away. I don't know what it is. It very well just could have been a Stratocaster with one of those Rockmans that's so high-endy that it's making that. But that's how I got the sound. Sometimes it's not about doing exactly what they did. It's just being creative and to accomplish what you're hearing. Of course, I used the Dimension D on that bass. It sounds like everything's chorused on a Duran Duran record. That's a real bass, by the way. Don't let them tell you Kevin Paige can't play bass. It's actually my favorite thing to play when I'm doing tracks. It's just nailing a clean bass line. So let's talk about when it gets to the chorus. This song's in D minor. Now, if you went to a rehearsal, you said, I got this song, guys. We're going to go from D minor to B minor for the chorus. They'd be like, what? Woo! Record. So then when you go back to the key, you get this. Woo! Dude, that's magical. Nobody could touch that. They had the world in the palm of your hand. Not even, I love Prince to death and Michael to death, but that was one of the baddest movements in a song. Just brilliant stuff. All right, what else is in here worth listening to? Nick Rhodes always had these cool eerie pads going on. Where's what? Real cheesy, like Kumar strings, I think is what he used a lot. Or Kroomer, I don't know what they call them. I'm not a gearhead, like I told you. Then they would always use these stories. Oh, the guitar, let's talk about this. This is cool. I don't want it to get that paper thin guitar like the record because it sounded like this. Let's see what the record sounds like. Real paper thin distortion, which made me think there's not even a cabinet on it. So I just used a straight up preamp or an amplifier with no cabinet on it. I actually disabled the cabinet there to make this really cheesy, but it sounds like the record. And that stinking studio chorus, like I told you, it sounds like it's on everything. All right, so cool. So what else is there to discuss? Oh, the drums. On the drums, I actually used the Superior drummer. I was a drummer in my day, especially when all this stuff was going on. So I obsess over drum tones, but I tried to get that like the record. Here's the kick. Just a real attacky. Now, I got to tell you, I was really proud of my side stick. Let me show you my side stick. I made this sample when I was 25 years old. That was 25 years ago. Woo! I made that in my mother's kitchen. And the stick was just magical that day. Drummers know what I'm talking about. It's just sometimes the way it hits, certain transients pop out. And that was the one. I've been using that ever since. And I've never found a drum machine that had as good of a side stick. And I know some guys are going, oh, that's bull. They don't sound that good. Well, let me show you. Actually, here's what it is. That's the one I made in my mother's house. Here's a friend of mine on a session I did with him. He hit a side stick, and I went, oh, stop it. We got to sample that. That was that one. So when I put it with Mom's side stick, it's just awesome. Woo! You're welcome to sample that. I'll shut up. Here you go. You're welcome. You're welcome, San Diego. Woo! That's too much. It's because it's a live one. All right, so I used a Jupiter. You're wondering what I used on the synthesizer, some of you. It's the Arturia Jupiter 8. Now, I had to make 3 different sounds. I can try to show you that really quick. Let's see. Why isn't this playing? It should be. Well, I guess it's not going to show us. I don't know. Very frustrating. It should be, though. Wait a minute. I don't know. Don't worry about it. All right, so either way, I had to do 3 different instances of this to make all the oscillators, to try to get 4 oscillators. And I'm sure you can do this. I'm not a gearhead, but I always knew he used Roland synthesizers back in the day. So anyway, so the only remaining thing to look at is the outro when it goes to the halftime. I know everybody that loves Duran Duran music knows how that synthesizer sounds at the end. I was not able to get the portamento that was doing all that. That sounded like a sick bird or something, which I love, but I wasn't able to do it. I did the octave thing. But his is a lot weirder. His was like this. Like that. I couldn't do that. Closest I could get was just that. All right, that's it. That's my little cover of Duran Duran. Hope you had fun or enjoyed or, I don't know, found something amusing. I'm Kevin Paige. All right, see you.